Hi everyone, and welcome to our first Google AdSense On Air live stream, in which we're going to share with you today 5 tips to get your site optimized for the winter holiday. I'm Marion, Strategic Partner Manager working here at Google Dublin, and to present this first live stream, I'm in a very good company with Julian and Chris.
So, hey everyone, my name is Julian Wouda. I'm a display specialist on the advertiser side of business, and I will give you a sneak preview of what's on the mind of the advertisers. And I will also be here for the Q&A in case you have any questions, burning questions that you want to ask on the advertiser side of the business.
Hi guys, my name's Chris Jones. I'm a global audience development specialist here in Dublin as well, and I'll be taking you through tips around building content, but also site optimization tips regarding, in this case, mobile friendliness and page speed.
Okay, so let's get started. So as I mentioned earlier, and as you can see on the slide, this live stream is the first of our new monthly live stream program. So you might have seen all the topics that we offer to you, publisher, up to August next year. So feel free to register to all our upcoming sessions. We will have one live stream every month on j.co/AdSense On Air. Also, at the end of this presentation, as Julian and Chris mentioned earlier, we will have a live Q&A. So feel free to ask all your questions regarding this presentation on j.co/AdSense question. Sorry for that. We will also send you a feedback form at the end of this live stream. So please give us your opinion. It's very important for us in order to improve the quality of our live stream, but also the quality of this new program. And the presentation will be sent in PDF to all registered who fill this survey. So please give us your opinion. Okay, so now let's reveal the agenda and the 5 tips we're going to share with you today. So we will start with tip 1. The holiday season keeps getting bigger and bigger, presented by Julian. Then tip 2 and tip 3, presented by Chris, about how to tailor your content to what users are looking for, and how to optimize your website on all devices. This is a very important point today for all publishers. And then I will close this presentation with tip 4, presenting the AdSense native format, and tip 5, to talk about viewability and how to make your ads visible on the page. So, Julian, let's get started and tell us what advertisers are interested about during the winter holiday season.
Perfect. Thank you, Marion. So tip 1, what are actually the key dates and milestones for advertisers? So in early October, we recommend our advertisers already to think about the technological part of their own website and about their AdWords and AdSense structure. But so we recommend to create their strategy already in early October, check their website tags, create their audience list that they want to target, make sure that the product feeds are up to date, and implement as many best practices that we recommend them. And we'll have some recommendations later in these slides as well. So in October, we already see that some and most advertisers actually already launched their holiday campaigns on a smaller scale in order to work out any imperfections before the peak season. Then in early November, so the 1st of November, typically we recommend our advertisers to prepare for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, create their creatives, their strategy. And then in the mid of November, we really see that the budget for display are coming loose. And we recommend then as well to uncap budgets, remove frequency caps, and other schedulings that they might have on their campaigns. So typically you might already see an increase in traffic during this period. And then in late November, the key dates are 24th of November, which is Black Friday, 27th is Cyber Monday, and the 28th is Remarketing Tuesday. And then in early December, we communicate with all of our advertisers that Christmas is only 3 weeks away. So then they will set up their last minute shoppers campaigns, and therefore they might even increase their budgets or keep the budgets the same. So keep releasing content at this stage, and then in the final days until Christmas is the 21st is the last shipping day, and then the 23rd it's the last Saturday before Christmas. So just be mindful of these dates. And then between Christmas and the New Year, we typically see that all the budgets remain the same. And of course, there is also Boxing Day on the 26th of December. And then in the New Year, we typically see that the advertisers go back to their normal pattern. And then what is an important targeting method for advertisers? Well, of course, they are also targeting specific websites, but in order to have it a little bit more automated, they have a new targeting method, which is called content keywords. So for content keywords, at Google, we don't only look at the keywords that are mentioned on the website of publishers, but we also look at the behavior of the users on the search engine. So the pro tip would be here is to use some kind of keywords that users might look for in the search engine while they're shopping in order to have a better match rate, and therefore you will see higher CPCs and CPMs, because this is one of the most frequently used targeting methods. So maybe you can include a quote on how to buy toys, or where can I buy toys, something like this in your content. And later, Chris will be talking a little bit more about the content. And then what is an important ad format and that we have seen adopted across the whole EMEA, across the whole region, it's called the responsive ads. And it's a really simple format for advertisers to use, and that's why it's so popular. They only have to set up one ad, and it covers the text inventory, image inventory, and native inventory, and it covers 100% of the ad slots. So that's why advertisers are using it. So make sure that you're including on your website text inventory, image inventory, and native inventory in order to capture all the volume that is out there that advertisers are putting away. And then later, Marion will talk a little bit more about the native ad format and why it's important for you as a publisher.
Yes, exactly, Julian. Thank you very much for this insight. It's really interesting to have the advertiser point of view. And also, as mentioned on this last slide, responsive ad unit format and native are available in your AdSense account for publisher. So if you haven't tried this format yet, feel free to do so by creating a new ad unit in AdSense account. Okay, so now, Chris, tell us how a publisher can tailor his content to what users are looking for.
Sure.
Thank you.
Oh, no, hasn't clicked over. A bit of a lag. Yeah. So first off, content, especially around the holiday seasons, is very much around building unique content. And that's can mean a multiple thing when I say uniques, but more importantly, it should be around unique and creative content. By that, I mean, storytelling is a very powerful tool. No matter what content you're building, no matter what type of site you're building or that you're distributing, how you tell that story is the unique thing. And it has to be unique. It has to be very much centralized to you and your audience. So just because you do not have a new story to tell doesn't mean that people will not want to read your content. So there's very much two ways. One, you have, this is a new story. This is a new piece of content. No one has told a story like that before. The other thing is, it's a story that we've heard. It's a top 5 list for the best toys in this holiday season, but it's told in your unique way. Your unique way is what people are interested in learning about. But additional ways you can build unique content is going beyond the words. And by this, I mean instigating video and visual content into your overall content. We as a human being, as a race, our attention spans are waning. We have more disruptions, be it through additional content, your mobile phone. So our attention span is like that of a goldfish, if you will. Sometimes we can be, or a magpie, we can get distracted by shiny objects. And in this case, you need to engage your user, engage the users of your content, how they basically digest your content. And this is really about video and visuals. So if you can tell something through a GIF, if you can put a very interesting image into it, if you can do this content through video, that is a way to tell your story. YouTube has been around now for quite a while. It's one of the second biggest search engine in the world, and people go there. So if you can tell your story through text, there's nothing to say that to stop you picking up a mobile phone, a camera, and recording and editing your story in a video style, and then distributing that. So you're giving your users options. Hey, I can either take you through on video the top five toys this holiday season, or if you don't feel like watching a 3-minute video or a 30 or 60-second video, here's a text-based and image-based piece of content that you can read through at your leisure. And that's really things. So remember, if you're building content, it needs to be unique and creative. And by unique, I mean it's telling a story, be that the first time the story's ever been told, or your view on the story. And then you can increase the engagement levels of that piece of content through building in video or visual content. But what types of content can you build? Well, I like to break it down into these kind of 4 buckets. The first is emotional content or emotion based. When we care about something, we feel open to sharing it. We're more likely to put that piece of content out and tell other people, hey, you should care about this too. Or, oh my God, this puppy is so cute. Look at him. So think about that. How can is there a story or a piece of content that you're building that has an emotional resonance with your audience? Is it a story of I'm trying to think of the White Christmas, where it's the little boy kind of standing outside the old man's house, kind of going, please sir, just a penny for my turkey, things like that. That is an emotional, tugs on your heartstrings. So can you build content like that? The second piece is social proof. People are more predetermined to share content if we believe it will make us look smarter, savvier, cooler, if it will elevate our standing within our audience, our own personal echo chambers. So social proof is a great way to share these kind of top tips, if you will. Hey, did you know, here's 5 things about the holiday season in this country X or country Y. And people will share that content and push it out because that is something very cool. It's something very smart. It's something savvy, if you will. The third tip is practical value. If your content is useful for people, people will actually spread the word because they're grateful for you giving that practical value. The best example I can give of this is maybe some of our viewers have children, or you have nieces or nephews. I always go, and especially over this holiday season, I will have my nieces and nephew with me. I will go to YouTube and I will look for videos of how to entertain kids at 3-year-old children when you have nothing else but adult stuff in your house. I don't have toys, I have tech. So I will look up that, and if the tips I get on this video of practical how-to things to do with kids, I will share that and go, hey, did you know if you're stuck with a kid over the holiday season, here's a really nice things you can do with them. But it doesn't need to be that. Think about recipes, how to cook a turkey, how to cook a roast beef, how to make the best Christmas stuffing, things like that. If it's practical, we will share it because we will spread that value. Finally, stories. Very linked to the emotional pieces of content, but slightly different. Stories and storytelling is the undercurrent of all contagious content, viral content, if you will. If we don't share information in a practical sense, we don't share bullet point 1, bullet point 2, bullet point 3. We don't do that when we share. When we tell people something, we tell it as a story. We tell it as, oh my God, you will not believe what happened to me. I went down to the shops and X. You set a background. You tell the reason. You set it up from why people should listen, should care about this information. So think about when you were writing your content, what is the story? What is the introduction at the beginning? What is the midpoint, the main thread of the story in the middle? And how are you wrapping it together? How are you finishing that piece of content with the beautiful bow and or the Christmas scarf, if you will, at the end to go, hey, I've taken you on a journey of the stories. And that can be a listicle. That can be a top 5 things, because you can build the introduction being very, hey, did you know, here's 5 things or 5 toys that you may not know are hard to get, and here's why, and here's how to get them. Anything can have a story. Just remember the story needs to be there. But what happens if you get stuck and you run out of ideas of what type of content to write? Here's some ideas. 1, evergreen content. Evergreen content essentially is content that can be viewed and used consistently over and over again, year on, year out. So the example I always give for this is recipes or how to make Christmas decorations. So if you tell people a piece of content like, here's my favorite recipe for cooking a turkey, every year that piece of content will be viewed, because every year someone wants to know how to cook a turkey. Or if you how to build really nice festive winter holiday decorations, or a gingerbread man like what's on the screen right now, people will consistently go in and view that year over year. The second type of content you can build is very in-depth. While our attention spans are quite low, we also still have an inbred need to go deep into certain topics that we care about. Think about soccer. I can tell you the score results in 1 line in 140 characters on Twitter, or you can go to an article that I wrote, which gives you the play-by-play account and which goal scorer scored and which player scored on the goalie, why the goalie missed, the background on the management, background on the team. All different people want different levels of in-depth content. So it's figuring out what types of in-depth content can you build that that a niche audience will like. Finally, trending content. This is always something that you should look into. One of the best ways of following trending content in your region, in your country, is Google Trends. It's a very easy to access tool. It's free. Go to Google Trends, and you'll go to that and you can see what people are searching for based on an index in your country, in your region. And this is usually quite useful for finding out, keeping a finger on the pulse in terms of what type of content people are searching for. So therefore, if you write that content, people will be interested in your view of it, or your viewpoint on the overall topic, if you will. So they were a few tips on content as a whole, the types of content you can build this winter season. I want to now take you into actually the optimization of your website on all devices. Mainly, I want to focus very quickly on mobile, but I will discuss some elements of desktop as well. So very importantly, we live in a mobile world. We've been saying this in Google for quite a while, and you may be sick of us saying it, but it doesn't make it any less true. Mobile first strategies are always important as a publisher. First of all, you need to ensure that your mobile is fast. Your mobile site, I should say, is fast. You need to ensure that your mobile site is easy for users to navigate, but also you need to ensure that it's consistent. So when I'm on my mobile and I'm visiting your website, I know where to go. But when I go to the desktop, there needs to be some level of consistency between the navigation so that I know where I'm going when I visit your site on my desktop. 2 very quick, nice stats for you. 67% of users who start a purchase on their mobile phone usually complete it on a desktop. So if you do have some form of e-commerce on your site, ensure that you give your users ability to swap between the different devices and continue their path to purchase. And that is a very important thing to do. Finally, when I've talked about making it fast, 70% of users say that if your site does not load in less than 3 seconds, I believe it is, or 3.5 seconds, they will go. They are bored. They want the information now, and they will leave your site. You will get a bounce. You may not even get the actual bounce. They may, even before the first server call is called, they may just leave. So ensure that your site is loading in that very quick instance. So what does that mean in terms of how to further make it fast? So 1/3 of people say speed is the most important factor when it comes to using mobile web. Additionally, 74% of people will abandon the mobile site or desktop site if it takes more than 5 seconds to load. So take those things into account. What I'm going to ask you to do now is take out your mobile phone while you're watching us and click in to your browser and just type in your domain. Has it loaded yet? Now? If it's taken more time to load than right now, as I've just had this conversation with you, you need to start looking at how you can fix that, because that will be, I'm bored. I really wanted to see what your content was about, but now I'll go find this content elsewhere. And that's essentially it. So please ensure that you are optimizing for both mobile and desktop, but with a priority, if you will, on mobile. So you may go to me now, but Chris, I have no idea how to fix it or what to do or what the first steps are. Well, we've got you covered. If you go to test my site, if you basically Google, think with Google, test my site tool, you'll get to this tool. It's actually, sorry, the website URL is testmysite.thinkwithgoogle.com. You go there, you input your URL, and what you end up getting is we will analyze you for both mobile optimizations and desktop speed optimizations. You will get this kind of loading symbol. It will tell you how long it's taking, what we're doing, and you will come up with a score between 0 and 100. You want to be in the 85 to 100% range. You want to be in green. If you're in yellow or if you're in red, you need to take action. You will basically, nope, excuse me. I went slightly too far ahead of myself. There is mobile friendliness, which takes into account user experience. So you can't, if you are already in the green, but your mobile friendliness score is lower, just basically look at tap targets, basically image optimization, responsiveness, etc. Definitely think about the ads placement, the viewability as well. But Marion will chat about that later. When it comes to mobile speed, we will pop out, along with this score, optimization tips and links to the actual technical how-tos to make those fixes. But just think about, you want to be in the green within the next 3 weeks. How can you get there? Here's the tips. Give it to your developer. If you are the developer, prioritize these as well. When I started talking about mobile friendliness there, this is something you need to also take into account. So here are some very quick tips for you. Ease of use. If your website is step-based, ensure that those steps are cleanly visible and cleanly designed for a mobile device. For example, we have steps 1, 2, and 3, and even though we have the wording step 1 and 2, we've also numbered it to show people where they are in the user flow. Touch-friendly tap targets. I have quite fat fingers, and my pet hate is I'm going to try and click on one link, and unfortunately I end up clicking on a link beside it or an ad beside it, which is never a good thing. So please ensure that your tap targets are the right pixels width, and that your overall site in its responsive elements are touch-friendly. Finally, this is a level about accessibility, but I believe it kind of comes into a mobile first tip, is ensure that the font size is correct, or if it's actually the font size is editable based on the device type. We all have different eyesight, some of us better eyesights than others, so you need to cater for those people. But what you really don't want is when you're on a mobile device and you have not made that text or the font editable based on its size, that I have to squeeze and zoom in just to read the article or read the headline or read the caption of a picture. So ensure that that font size is responsively designed enough that it changes based on width and the viewport. Nope.
It's gonna.
Yeah. Next up, be consistent. I talked about this consistency across screens. Here you have a good and bad variation of what you can do. If you are doing a responsive screen, ensure that it's on the green tick box so you take into account the viewport. Otherwise, you will end up with this horrible GIF that I've made where you are basically scrolling left to right on your device type. You're kind of zooming in where needed. But again, I talked about the user path to purchase. I also talked about the elements of the navigation, etc. So people know where to go, what to do, and how to use it very instinctively. So ensure that that is something you're taking into account. Finally, I talked about mobile friendliness. The tool in Test My Site, we do give you a score. But if you're already sure about your page speed and just want to make sure that you are up to scratch when it comes to the UX of your mobile site, we do have the Google Mobile Friendliness tool. So please go, again, enter your URL, run the test. This is on a page-by-page basis. So ensure that you are taking pages with the different stylings. So article page, home page, category page, etc., lists page, that you're trying at least one of each of those different style sheets and testing them here. And if you get a good to go, you will give you the tick where, hey, you're great. If not, if you are failing one or two pieces, ensure that you focus on them very soon. So that's enough from me. I'm going to pass over to Marion, who's going to talk to you about going native.
Thank you, Chris. So, by the way, if you're interested in receiving more tips about how to make your website mobile friendly, we will have our upcoming live stream about this topic, how to get your website mobile ready, happening on the 22nd of November on a Wednesday at 1 p.m. Dublin time. So feel free to register on j.co/AdSense On Air if you're interested. I also want to remind you that you can leave your question regarding this presentation on j.co/AdSense question, and we will answer them if we have time after the presentation. So now let's talk about native. I'm sure you all have heard about this term. Native is a trend today on the online advertising world. But why? Why it became a trend? So what is native? So it comes into various sizes and shapes from a growing number of ad network, and today it's a trend. Why? Because native trend was basically launched by the need in the market to create great looking ads that offer a nice user experience and fit nicely in your pages. So they are visually different from one advertising source to another. And for this presentation, I will focus more on the Google offering and present you the native AdSense format. But these formats all have in common the natural look and feel with the surrounding page content. Think about your visitor. He arrives on your page, he reads the content, you don't want to disturb his reading flow, and you can use native ads format to have like an incremental revenue and to keep your user focus on your content by placing these ads that are highly customizable. The IAB Native Advertising Task Force established 6 core native ad formats, and you can see on my slide 4 are presented. So the search and promoted listings, custom content units, in-feed native ads, and content recommendation widget. Why it's important to think native when you are a publisher today? According to Business Insider, the global spending on native will reach 7.9 billion in 2017 and grow beyond 20 billion next year. So if you haven't tried this format yet, I really recommend you to try. And only in the US, around 50% of the advertising spent, and Julian mentioned it earlier, is on native ads. So why native? First of all, this format, these ads, offer an increased viewability. They are more likely to be seen on the page. They are usually placed within the content, and as they are highly customizable by the publisher, they fit better within your content. So they offer a better user experience, as they are viewed as editorial. And for mobile branding, it's also very good, and I'm going to take my note to share with you some numbers. Native ads units are created with a mobile user in mind. They are great for mobile branded. They are reported to be very effective in achieving branding goals on mobile, such as 26% of mobile marketers globally have used native mobile campaigns in driving branding awareness and affinity. So, by the way, all the format that we offer, all the native formats in AdSense are responsive and will adapt according to the screen used by your visitor. So now, I've talked about what's native, why to use native today. I'm going to present you the AdSense offering that we have today. So as you can see on my slide, we have 3 formats. The in-feed native format that is perfect to be integrating in a feed. The in-article that is perfect if you want to integrate a native ad format within your text, within your article. And the match content, this one is only is eligible only to certain AdSense publisher, and it's good to recommend other article or other pages of your website to your visitor. So let's focus on in-feed native. So in-feed native, it's offer you as a publisher a new ad placement, so incremental revenue. So if you have a feed on your website, it can be like product listing, it can be feed article. You can now go to your AdSense account, create an in-feed native format, customize the font, the background color, and the ad unit in general, for this ad unit to match perfectly with the rest of your feed and offer a better experience for users and a more effective ads for advertisers. Then we have the in-article native. So I would like to also to mention that in-feed and in-article have been released in all AdSense accounts recently, the 5th of July, so last summer. So for in-article, this format is optimized by Google to ensure that they perform well on your article pages. So it's a format that you can also customize and that you can integrate directly within your article, within your content. And it's very good when you have like heavy text pages. So it's also an additional opportunity to monetize your longer form content. And match content. So match content is very good for 2 reasons. So the first one, this block will allow you to promote other articles that you have on your website and that might interest your visitors. So the content is recommended according to the preference of the visitor. So it will help you to increase your page view and the retention of the visitor on your website. So that's the first reason. The second reason, it will allow you to earn revenue through this native ad unit because you will have few ads placed in this match content ad unit. So now I've been presenting the different formats that AdSense offer in terms of native. I've been talking about why native is an interesting and important trend today for publisher. I'm going to just give you simple tips to implement this new format if you want to try them after our live stream. So it's really easy. You can find all the different formats, native or also text and display in your AdSense account under My Ads, clicking on plus new ad unit, and you can create this new native ad format in 3 steps. So the first step is to choose, of course, the type of ad that you'd like to create. So if it's a match content, in feed, in article. Then the second step, we will ask you, so okay, today you have, if you want to create an in feed, what's the look of your feed today? Do you have a picture on the left side? No picture? So we will, it's very user friendly and you can select the option that you want to match this new format with the rest of your page. So second step, you will configure your ad to match the look and feel of your content. So you can choose a font, the headline, customize the call to action button, display the URL, etc. And then the third step is to copy the tag of this new ad unit that you created and place it directly in the code of your website in the body part. So now I talk about native. I'm going to finish this presentation by giving you tips about how to make your ads visible and talk about viewability, a term that you might have heard as a publisher today. So what is viewability? So an ad is considered viewable when at least 50% of the ad creative pixels is in view for 1 consecutive second. So 50% of your ads needs to be seen by a user for at least 1 second to try to get a good rate in viewability. So let's start with some desktop web best practices about viewability and how you can increase the viewability in your account. By the way, you can find the viewability in your AdSense account in the report tab by selecting the report type ad unit. You will have a tab with all the ad unit actually active on your page, and you will have a column active view viewable, and at the bottom of this column you will see your total viewability percentage. So if you want to go and have a look in your AdSense account right now, I recommend you to do so. In Europe, the average viewability is 51% today for publisher. So how we influence this viewability and how we can increase this percentage. So on desktop, of course, the position of your ads will be key. And we recommend you today to place your ads above the fold. It's very important. And if you look at my slide, the average viewability rates above the fold is 68% and below the fold is 40%. So it makes sense because, of course, above the fold will be the part of your page that will be more viewed by your visitor and rather than ads that could be placed at the bottom of your page. Recommendation in terms of format. So you can use, of course, responsive, as we mentioned before, but on desktop specifically, if you want to keep this fixed format, you can use a 728 by 90 or 970 by 250 above the fold, because this format have a strongest, usually the strongest viewability placed also above the fold. So feel free to place your format above the fold, and as a tip, you can also try to place them just above the fold rather than on the very top of your page that could be skipped by your visitor when they will land on your web page. So that's the first recommendation, to try to improve your viewability on desktop by using horizontal ad unit format. Second point is about vertical format on desktop. We recommend you to use 300 by 250, but also 160 by 600 and 300 by 600 that are usually skyscraper and long rectangle ad unit that you see in the sidebar. This format show better, strongest viewability again. So feel free to use them on desktop. Now, let's talk about mobile, because it's also very important for you and your website today. So the best format and position that I could recommend to you today is or using a responsive ads, or using a 320 by 100, again, above the fold. Again, avoid placing banner too high because user scrolls before content is fully loaded and could skip directly this ad placed on the top of your mobile screen. And the main recommendation on mobile is to place and use a 300 by 250. So this format is very good. Why? Because it fits perfectly within the content on desktop as well as on mobile. So it's a format that you can use for both directly. And you can use this format on mobile and place it at the bottom of your first page on mobile for the user to see this ad unit by 50% when he lands on your web page. So, which means that I arrive on your web page, I land on your article, and at the bottom of my screen, I can see appearing 50% of this 300 by 250 ad units. This is already, this is today the best practice in terms of mobile format, but also placement of ads that I will recommend. Best format and position for ads. So we mentioned 320 by 100, 300 by 250. If you still have on your website on mobile, if you are still using a 320 by 50, I would highly recommend you to switch this outdated format by a 320 by 100, which is equivalent today. Today we have mobile with bigger screen, and this format will perform better because you will double competition when using this format, and also you'll see an increase in CTR. And of course, to finish, don't place more than one ad per view on mobile. So you don't have to have 2 ads on the same screen on mobile. Why? Because it's not providing a good experience for your visitors, and it's also not permitted by our AdSense policy. So that's it for the presentation. Thank you for following us today. I hope you ask us some questions regarding this presentation. And now we're gonna see if we receive a question from you. I hope you like the presentation. Okay, so we have a few questions. Okay, so I have a question from Shahid, who is asking, what are the best location to show AdSense ads on AMP pages? So for AMP pages, the recommendations are the same than for web pages in general. So I would recommend you to use a 300 by 250 above the fold, and to try to place your ads as much as possible above the fold or within the content where you know that the visitor will look at it. what do we have as well? So I have a question from Martin. Can I traffic AdSense native in or through DFP? So that's a very good question, Martin. So no, you can't traffic this native AdSense format in DFP. And as I mentioned earlier, during the implementation process, you will have to hardcode this format on your page directly by adding the tag of the ad unit directly in the body part of your code. So we have a lot of questions. We have a question about content, but which type of content should we upload on our blog during the season? I don't know what you will answer to that, Chris, but...
Which one's this?
Which type of content should we upload on our blogs during the season? From Farhan. Thank you, Farhan, for the question. I think you mentioned.
So very important to do not start writing about stuff that does not fit your current audience. Depending on what type of site you are, if you, for example, are a tips, tricks type site, you can do tips and tricks around the holiday season. If you are a recipe site, please ensure that you have festive winter season, winter holidays tips. Like, are you doing Thanksgiving recipes? Are you doing Christmas dinner recipes, etc.? If you are a blog, and depending on what type of lifestyle, entertainment, or other blog you are, ensure that you are writing content that is naturally linked to your audience. Ensure that this is, if you are a technical how-to developer only for a site where developers go to find how-to pieces on some form of HTML5, for example, if you start writing about the top 5 Christmas gifts to give this winter season, that will look out of place on your blog. You will not get very many views, and it won't help your overall. So ensure whatever content you are considering, make sure that it does resonate with your audience, that this is the type of content that they are looking for. Additionally, as I talked about earlier, you can look up Google Trends. So what you can do is put some searches into Google Trends around winter season, holidays, etc. Lock it towards your region or country and see what people are searching for, what types of related searches there are, and write content that makes sense. I think that's a kind of core bit. There's no point trying to scam the system, if you will. And I'm not saying that anyone would try that. It's just ensure that the content that you write resonates and is relatable to your audience.
Good answer. I saw a question earlier. So we have a question from Alexander. Is the CPC rate of the viewed ads connected with the content of your website? Example, content about Christmas gift will boost my ads with Christmas deals and ICPC. So I will not talk about CPC, but more traffic. I think if you create content, seasonal content that might really interest user today for the winter season, for example, you might see an increase in terms of traffic. And this will not like specifically influence the CPC, but more the traffic that you will receive on your page. And of course, if you have ads placed on these pages, more traffic you will have, more impression of ads you will generate, and more revenue you will make from these ads.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, again, there is no direct correlation. If you write about Christmas gifts, there is no guarantee you will get ads around Christmas deals. It is contextual targeting, as we talked about earlier. So again, make sure the content is optimized for the season, the right types of topics, the right type of content, but also ensure the tips that the site is faster, therefore you get more users in and the more sessions, and ensure that the ad viewability is high enough, again, above the fold, as Marion talked about.
What do we have? We have time to answer one more. Question from Quasar. Which one do you recommend, native or responsive design? So, as I mentioned earlier, all the AdSense native ad format are responsive. So they will be displayed properly if I consult your website, Quasar, on mobile or on desktop. And these formats are responsive. Then you can also use responsive design for text and display ads. But I will recommend you to use in feed if you have a feed on your website. You can then, within your pages and within your content, use or text and display or native in article. Native maybe for a better integration. I hope I answered to your question. And maybe one last question. From Mike, should I replace all my standard display banners by native ads? So native ads, as I mentioned earlier, are good for incremental revenue. I wouldn't replace your standard banners by native ads. It depends the configuration. Again, it's difficult to answer. It depends of the configuration of your page and the ads that you already have on your page at the moment. But you can use native ads in addition of text and display banner and try to mix both kind of formats on your website to provide a good user experience to your visitor. I think that's it. Thank you very much for joining us today for the first live stream of Google AdSense On Air. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope we answered to your question. I give you rendezvous next month on the 22nd of November for a new live stream about get your website mobile ready. And yeah, thank you. Anything to add? No,
thank you very much. And hopefully you have a great holiday season this winter. And yeah, just make sure that the content you're putting out there is what your users want, and make the most of it. Enjoy it.
Thank you for participating, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye. See you next time.
Ciao.